Imagine you are sitting in a police interrogation room, recounting a memory that you wish you could scrub from your brain. This is a story about the night I almost didn't come home. I've been driving for a delivery app for about 4 years now. You see a lot of things in this job. You see people at their best, celebrating with pizza. You see them at their worst, crying over a breakup with a pint of ice cream. But mostly, you just see the road, the endless, dark road. It was a Thursday, late October, the kind of night where the rain isn't just falling. It's being thrown at the earth. The wind was howling, shaking my little Honda Civic like a toy. It was 11:45 p.m. I had promised my wife I'd be home by midnight, but we were short on the mortgage, and I needed just one more decent fare. I was parked in the lot of a 24-hour burger joint, listening to the rain hammer the roof when the app chimed. It was a strange noise. Louder than usual. I looked at the screen. The offer was staggering. $55. For a single bag of food, the distance was 12 miles. In the gig economy, you don't ask questions when you see $55. You just hit accept before someone else does. I walked into the restaurant. It was empty, fluorescent, and cold. The teenager behind the counter didn't even look up from his phone. He just pointed to a bag sitting on the warmer. Order for. The guest, he mumbled. The guest? I asked. That's the name? That's what the app says, man, he replied, popping his gum. Don't shoot the messenger. I grabbed the bag. It was surprisingly heavy, denser than a couple of burgers should be. It smelled earthy, like mushrooms and iron. I ran back to the car, shielding the bag from the rain. I started the engine, cranked the heat, and swiped Start Delivery. The GPS calculated the route. It drew a blue line that went out of the suburbs, past the industrial park, and deep into the state forest. I knew the area vaguely. It was old logging territory, miles of nothing but pine trees and gravel roads that washed out every spring. I started driving. The first 10 minutes were fine. But as soon as I turned off the main highway onto County Road 9, the streetlights vanished. It was just my high beams cutting tunnels through the darkness. The trees on either side of the road were leaning in, their branches thrashing in the wind like skeletal arms trying to grab the car. The rain turned into a deluge. My wipers were on max speed. Slap, 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 slap. Oh, fighting a losing battle. My phone signal dropped from 3 bars to 1 to LTE to nothing. GPS signal lost, the mechanical voice said. Proceed to the highlighted route. I was flying blind. I just kept driving straight, following the last instruction I'd seen. The pavement ended. The tires crunched onto gravel, then onto mud. The car slipped, the back end fishtailing. I gripped the wheel until my knuckles turned white. Why would anyone order food out here? I thought. Who even lives out here? Finally, after what felt like an hour, I saw it. A mailbox. It was an old, rusted metal box on a crooked wooden post. The number 404 was painted on it in reflective red paint that looked too fresh. I turned into the driveway. It wasn't a driveway, really. It was a tunnel through the woods. The branches scraped the roof of my car. Scritch, scratch, scritch. Like fingernails testing the metal. The woods opened up into a small clearing. And there sat the house. It was a farmhouse, but it looked wrong. The windows were boarded up from the inside. The paint was peeling in long gray strips like dead skin. There were no lights on. Not a porch light. Not a flicker of a TV. Nothing. Just a dead house and a dead clearing. I sat there, engine idling. The rain pounded the roof. I looked at the delivery instructions on my phone. Since I had lost signal, I was reading the cached data. Instructions. Do not knock. Do not ring the bell. The dogs will bark. Bring the food to the side door. Down the ramp to the basement entrance. The door is unlocked. Leave it on the workbench. There is a cash tip waiting for you on the bench. Do not wake the house. I looked at the house again. It didn't look like anyone was sleeping. It looked like no one had lived there for 20 years. But $55. Plus a cash tip. I took a deep breath. I grabbed my flashlight. I grabbed the heavy, damp bag. I opened the car door. The wind instantly soaked me. I slammed the door and ran toward the side of the house. My boots sank into the mud. It sucked at my feet with every step. Squelch, squelch. I found the ramp. It was made of rotting plywood, slick with algae. I crept down it, using the wall for balance. The wood felt slimy under my fingers. At the bottom of the ramp was a heavy steel door. It looked industrial, out of place on an old farmhouse. I tried the handle. It turned. I pushed the door open. It swung inward with a heavy, well-oiled silence. I stepped inside. "Hello?" I whispered. I swept my flashlight around. I expected a basement, a laundry room, maybe a man cave. What I saw was a hospital, or it looked like one. The floors were pristine, white tile. The walls were covered in plastic sheeting, taped at the seams. In the center of the room was a metal table, a workbench, the instructions had said. On the workbench, there was a single, solitary candle burning. It was the only light in the room, and next to the candle was a stack of cash. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Every instinct I had was screaming, "Run! Get out! Leave the food and go!" But I walked toward the table. I needed to drop the bag. I needed that cash. I reached the table. I set the bag down. The sound of the paper bag hitting the metal table echoed in the silence. I reached for the cash. That's when I saw it. Next to the cash, carved into the metal surface of the table, were scratches. Deep, frantic gouges. And right in the middle of the scratches, someone had etched a word: "Run." My blood froze. I snatched the cash. I didn't even count it. And I spun around to leave. I took one step toward the door. Click. The sound was loud. Mechanical. Final. I shined my flashlight at the steel door I had just entered through. The handle was turning. Slowly. But the door wasn't opening. I ran to it. I grabbed the handle. I pulled. Locked. "Hey!" I shouted, my voice cracking. "Hey! I delivered the food. Let me out!" Silence. Then, from the darkness behind me, from the deeper part of the basement that my flashlight hadn't reached, I heard a sound. It was the sound of a fork scraping against a plate. Scrape, scrape. I turned around slowly, lifting my light. The beam cut through the dark. At the far end of the room, beyond the plastic sheeting, there was another door. It was slightly ajar, and through the crack in that door, a single eye was watching me. It was wide, unblinking, bloodshot. "You brought the appetizer," a voice whispered. It didn't sound human. It sounded like gravel grinding together. "But you forgot the drink." I backed up against the locked steel door. I fumbled for my phone. "No service. Please," I begged. "I just want to go home." The door with the eye began to creak open, slowly. And then, the candle on the workbench flickered out. I was in total darkness. I could hear footsteps on the tile. Wet, heavy footsteps. Slap, slap, slap. They were getting closer. I started banging on the steel door behind me, screaming, kicking. The footsteps stopped. Right in front of me, I could hear breathing, rattling, wet breathing. Inches from my face, I could smell the breath. It smelled like raw meat. I held my breath. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying for the lock to click open. I felt a hand touch my shoulder. It was hot. "Open your eyes," the voice whispered, right in my ear. "I want you to see this." I didn't open them. I screamed. And then, the handle of the steel door behind me clicked. It swung open. I fell backward, out into the rain, into the mud. I didn't look back. I scrambled up the ramp on my hands and knees, slipping, clawing at the dirt. I dove into my car. I locked the doors. I fumbled with the keys, dropping them twice before jamming them into the ignition. The engine roared to life. I threw it in reverse and spun out of that clearing, tearing up the grass, bouncing off a tree. I drove. I drove at 90 miles an hour down that mud road. I didn't breathe until I hit the pavement. I didn't slow down until I saw the lights of a gas station 10 miles away. I pulled under the bright canopy of the gas station. I was shaking so hard I couldn't unbuckle my seatbelt. I just sat there, sobbing, gasping for air. I looked down at the passenger seat, the cash. I still had the cash clutched in my left hand. I opened my hand to look at it. It wasn't money. It was a stack of Polaroid photos. I flipped through them, my hands trembling violently. The first photo was of my car, parked at the burger joint an hour ago. The second photo was of me, driving down the highway. The third photo was of me walking down the ramp into the basement, taken from behind me. But it was the last photo that made me scream. It was a photo of my own house, my front door, and it had been taken 5 minutes ago. My phone rang. It was my wife. I stared at the screen, the word home flashing in the bright fluorescent light of the gas station. I answered it. "Honey?" I choked out. "Honey, are you okay? Lock the doors. Lock the doors right now." There was a silence on the other end. Then, that same voice, the voice like grinding gravel, spoke through my wife's phone. "She can't come to the phone right now," it whispered. "We're just sitting down to eat, and we're still waiting on that drink." The line went dead. I'm still sitting at the gas station. I'm looking at the phone, and I don't know what to do. Because if I go home, I know what's waiting for me. But if I don't go home, God help me. What is that in my back seat? I see it in the rearview mirror. Something is rising up from the floorboard behind me. Its smile.